Soccer Comic Rant. My name is Ian Edwards, and we are on lockdown. This is I forgot whatever week this is, but we will continue to provide you with non-soccer soccer content because we are all we got right now. You know what I mean? There's no games, but there's memories, and there's documentaries, and there's footage. And I've been watching old World Cup games from like every World Cup possible that they put on YouTube, and there's still things to talk about, even though the coronavirus is still out there hating on us and shutting our lives down, and that we're all in quarantine. And this podcast is available at allthingscomedy.com, and you can also listen to it on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, Lips, and Stitcher, and you can watch it on YouTube if you're not watching it on YouTube at Ian Edwards or Ian Soccer Comic Rant Edwards. And I have two guests. One is in the Florida area. He's born in Jamaica, raised in England, moved back to Jamaica, been all over the place, comic, writer, performer, Tony Hendricks.
Yep.
And then we have another guy from England, a comic, also very associated with soccer, and we're going to hear about his story, even though we could barely see him. What up, Quincy?
Glad to be for real.
You're kind of fuzzy.
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm here. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
I've got to stand right under the light. I'm looking for a signal.
Yeah, Quincy, Jesus. Stop looking like you're in a drug dealer's basement doing this. Stand in the light, bro.
I'm in a panic room.
Although in fairness, it is night over there.
It is. Yeah, it is night over there.
Yeah.
Still. So what up, Quincy? What part of England you in?
I am in East London.
Oh,
that's where I'm at. My closest team to me is West Ham, but I do not support that team.
Oh, okay. Smart.
Yeah. My brother
Who is your
does.
team?
My team is Liverpool.
Oh, okay.
Liverpool.
We just had Kojo on. He's a big Liverpool fan.
Yeah. That's one of the things which we first started talking about as comics. We found out. I always find out who supports Liverpool at the comics when we first got on the circuit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you and Kojo get along?
Next question.
It's hilarious. So not even Liverpool could keep you guys together.
No. We're good. We're good. He does his thing. I do my thing.
It's all good.
We like the horses right now.
Yeah. So, how long you been a Liverpool fan?
I've been a Liverpool fan since the ages of, I would say, my first cup final I remember was 77.
77? Damn.
Jimmy Case.
Oh, okay.
I vaguely remember that. But I do remember my dad used to say to me, I used to always jump up when Terry McDermott used to be on the pitch.
Good player.
So when my dad is from that generation, my dad's Bajan, so like any player I knew in my era, my dad used to tell me who he used to play for before and who was his manager. So because I was a Terry McDermott fan, my dad said, yes, he used to play for Newcastle, 74 in Keegan Bassiat. And I was like, okay, Dad, all right. I don't need to know that. It's so good. Okay. But McDermott was Terry McDermott. A lot of people like Dalglish, but Terry McDermott for me was like one of the original number 10 players back in the day. You know what I mean? He used to give a little flair to Liverpool at the time. So yeah, I was a big Terry McDermott fan.
All right. Who else is on that team with him? Yeah, that's.
So you had David Johnson, Ray Clements.
Perfect. Good.
Yeah. So you had David Johnson, Ray Clements, Phil Neal. Who else was in that team?
Alan Hansen.
yes, he was there. He just started there then. Phil Thompson was there as well. And also Sammy Lee, Dalglish, obviously, Souness.
Toshak?
Nah, Toshak had left by then. Toshak was in
Earlier.
Yeah, he was early. He was with Keegan. So Toshak went to Spain then, Real Madrid, I think. He went Real Madrid around them times. But the guy...
Who was the Australian guy?
That was Craig.
Something.
Yeah, Craig. He invented the Predator boot.
Right.
Craig Robinson.
That's it.
He played, but he came after. He came after McDermott, so he played in the first double year. And you know, he couldn't play football back in the day. You know, he wasn't really. He was just at bare energy, but they just put him in the team because he would run down the man like a chicken.
I know England liked they would like I played on a team in college, and there was a lot of English players on it, but they were all flair players, and they were like 19, and they were really good, like super good, but they didn't make it in England because they weren't physical enough. And I was like, they just let these guys go. There's this one guy named Franklin. You could close your legs, tie them up, and stand in a block of cement, and he would put the ball through your legs and go for it on the other side, and then put it back in. I'm like, how the fuck did you do? It was like playing against David Blaine. I'm like, how the fuck are you doing this? And why are you here in America and you should be in England? It's like by that age, you know if you've made it or not. So then the coach from New York Institute of Technology, and this team went to like the Final Four of the Division II Soccer League, College League. He would just go over there and get players that didn't make it there because he knew they were still good, and their lives had been determined too early. Their failure or
they had cases.
But, yeah.
There were some good ass guys, man.
But I remember one of the sort of the difference between football in England and football in Jamaica was, in England, what the coaches would shout to you from the side was, "Get rid of it! Get rid of it!" And in Jamaica, they were, "Keep the ball, block the man, and go round the man, nutmeg the man, do whatever." That was the difference between. So the flair was always. Even when I went back as an adult in Jamaica playing ball there, people were, "Oh man, don't lay off the ball. Try and beat them on." They wanted to see you do that. Whereas in England, it was always about one touch max and off you go, pass it to the next guy. And it was, I mean, you heard them shouting that at little kids. Get rid of it, get rid of it.
But you would say that in Jamaica or probably the Caribbean then, Caribbean football was probably influenced by Brazilian, South American football.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So you had that Zico or the Revelinos to look up to. And then growing up in England, it was like the old Leeds sides and Chelsea sides where it was just like a physical, it was basically rugby with a kicking on the ball. Basically. It was rugby.
Speaking of which, R.I.P. Norman Hunter.
Yeah. It's a bit from my era, but yeah,
absolutely. But what I have to say is thank you so much for thinking I'm of the era of Zico and Rivellino, Quincy. I really appreciate that. Closer to Pele, I'll be honest with you, Socrates and them, but still.
Well, I mean, I see those guys like Revellino. I remember him in the '78 World Cup. He was old then. Because he played in the '70 World Cup. Right. So those guys there, I remember. Yeah, '78 was my first World Cup. I remember those flair players, and I think that when I was growing up in England, a lot of the black guys used to model themselves off the South Americans. Right. You know what I mean? So you found naturally black guys were in school, in my school, and when we played each other, used to keep the ball. And like Tony said, it was like, "What are you beating for? Knock it in the channel." Or we were either wingers or forwards. Right. So because of Laurie Cunningham as well.
Clyde Best.
Clyde Best. But he was a defender, right? Wasn't he?
No. He was a He was a winger, really. He was like an inside forward, but he was no.
Who did Laurie Cunningham play for again?
West Brom.
West Brom.
West Brom. He started at Orient.
Uh-huh.
Then he went to West Brom.
Mm-hmm.
And then after, I didn't realize this, he actually played, his last club was, before he died, God rest his soul, was Wimbledon. He came on as sub against Liverpool in '88.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I saw a documentary. I was like, wait a minute.
There's a documentary about on YouTube, and I watched the John Barnes documentary. I was going to ask you about John Barnes.
Yeah, amazing documentary.
I was watching the John Barnes documentary. You know, and he came over from Jamaica with his dad. His dad was working in England.
He was in the army.
In the army, yeah. And then he was like just playing school, like club team, and a taxi driver.
Yeah.
From Watford, went to Watford and said, "Hey, you need to sign this kid that I see play in the park." And then Watford came and looked at him and then take him. And then...
When I saw that, I watched it, that's a great documentary. I was like, how shit was Watford? the manager is going to listen to a taxi man and say to him, listen.
Well, how desperate was Watford?
You're right.
They're like, really? Like a taxi driver? But to be honest, they should have made that taxi driver a scout because he had a good eye for talent. You know,
hey, Elton John was the owner at the time.
Oh shit!
Yeah. And do you know who else got found like that? Dwight York. When Aston Villa went to the Caribbean for like the pre warm ups, like before the season starts.
Yeah.
And Ron Atkinson saw him play on the beach.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah, it's true. That's a true story.
Oh, shit.
They saw him playing on the beach, messing around, and they gave him a try with the team, and he batted it up, and then he became a professional footballer.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. What's the name of that Trinidadian guy who used to play for Hibernian as well? Russell Lapater, was it?
Yeah. Trinidad guy,
yeah. He was like now. If you ask anybody in Trinidad at that time, he was the best player that Trinidad ever produced, but he never made it because he was a flair player.
Right.
Yeah. Good player.
They just run over you and take the ball from you. So Quincy, you played some football, right?
Yeah, I played at a decent level. I played semi-pro. I played the early stages of the FA Cup. So I played when the FA Cup was like in July.
Oh, word.
Yeah.
Who did you play? Who knocked you out? Who did you play for and who knocked you out?
So I played for a team called Long Lane, which was in the Spartan League. And it was Spartan Premier. So you would play teams like Brimsdown, Enfield, and Spartan Premier was like, at the time, a very, very good. It was a good league, good standard league. It was based in South London. Right. I got picked for that team. A friend of mine asked me to come for trials because he saw me. He was playing at work, and I was looking for a team. And then I didn't realize that they was playing in the FA Cup. So they said it's FA Cup this week. So I was like, what? I was like, what's all about? Because it's just like, it's like the pre-knockout. And I was like...
But that's the thing about the FA Cup, isn't it? That's the thing about the FA Cup is that they always sell it on the basis that it's plumbers and painters and gas fitters versus, professional, the big boys when it gets to the third round and stuff.
Yeah. So when you see teams like when Sutton beat Coventry, them men have played like 8 games before they even got to that round.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So, I mean, I played at a decent level. I mean, I've always been a big guy. I would say that I'm the original Heskey. Like, I've done my books.
I know. Yeah. I just want you to know I hate Heskey.
Oh, no.
No, Heskey's a legend, man. I'm saying that I'm with him on Wednesday, so he's a legend.
Wait, hold on. Heskey, I keep on... No, I do hate Heskey. I like
How can you
Hasselbank.
hate Heskey?
I confuse Hasselbank with Heskey.
You can't do that. You cannot do that.
Nah.
Hasselbank is skillful. Heskey is just, I don't know.
No.
You know why I dislike Heskey?
He's a good boy. He's a very, very, very good lad. And he is, no, man, he did some good things, you know, both for Liverpool and for England as well.
I like Heskey because he knew his strengths. He done his job for the team.
Right.
He was a strong guy. He made Michael Owen scored a lot of them goals.
Absolutely.
You understand? And that's why it worked for Liverpool at the time.
Right.
He was a target man, and the same thing for Leicester. And that's why Liverpool bought him, because he was the hold-up man.
Yeah.
He was the hold-up man. And that was my style of play.
And when he played when Michael Owen was playing for England and he wasn't scoring, he said, "Well, put Emil Heskey in the side." Emil Heskey's in the side, and all of a sudden Michael Owen started scoring more for England.
Yeah, but we didn't go any further than we normally do. So it's like,
yeah, but that was England. That's why.
yeah. But I think my thing with Heskey is like, when I say I hate him, like his footballing style, because it's just not my style. Like if you ask some people who you prefer, Ronaldinho or Ronaldo or Messi, but Heskey style made me feel like England was limited. And you know how you was talking before about the Brazilian style of football,
yeah,
and what we're attracted to and what we relate to. Like I think Heskey was like the epitome of a black guy who played like just a block English person without flair. So then I think I was like just against that. And then when we really needed something to happen, it just never happened, and it was just frustrating.
I would say Heskey, if I describe Heskey, yeah, he is a football version of Tyson Fury. Yeah, he's not the most attractive to watch, but he gets the job done.
Maybe, yeah, for Liverpool, yeah. But did
and England.
Say again?
Here we go. The famous argument. They didn't win the title, no. But they won everything else apart from a title. They won the Super Cup, Cup Winners' Cup, the League Cup.
Like, how many people like paid to go see Heskey? Like, I can't wait to see Heskey get the ball today. Like,
I should hate Emil Heskey.
Right.
I did a gig a corporate gig for Jason Roberts. There's nothing worse than doing shows in front of like a bag full of footballers and stuff, because they all think they're funnier than everybody else.
Right.
And I did a gig for Jason Roberts Foundation, a lot of Blackburn players and stuff. Two guys who I sat at the table with, who were actually really good and really funny, Andy Cole and Cyril Regis. Cyril, best ever thing that happened to me one time was I was in Barcelona and I'm walking along, and all of a sudden I get a call. It's Cyril Regis calling me just to shoot the breeze. Just, how you doing? I was thinking about it. I just thought I'd give you a call. I'm like, it doesn't get any better than that. It does not get any better. But anyway, so I did this show. Before the show, I was chatting with Emil Heskey, and he was like a good fella. And he was being, we were laughing and joking and stuff. When I died on my ass, he just kind of like did that thing of like looked at me and looked away.
See?
Whereas Andy Cole and Cyril said, I went back to the table, and Cyril looked at me and he said, yeah, I have the occasional bad game as well. And Andy Cole said to me, that's why I never took penalties.
That's hilarious.
I know.
But at least they spoke to you. See, see what Heskey did? See, that's why I don't like him, and I didn't even know that.
You're right. I've gone off him as well.
Yeah.
Heskey's a good guy, man. He's a good guy.
He's probably a good guy. It's just that I just know him in a footballing context and a England context, and so I'm just frustrated with him that way.
One thing I'll say about Quincy, though, Quincy has a left foot.
Oh,
he has a, let me tell you something, well, it's all he's got, but it's a left foot. But, one time he came down to play. We have a comedians game down in South London. He came down to play, and I think we were playing like on the little five-a-side pitch, and all of a sudden there was this fucking explosion. Boom! And people just fucking ducked, and it was Quincy taking a shot. And I don't even remember what happened to the ball. He probably bust it or something like that. But he's have a rat of a
my left foot. I'm glad you remember. Thanks for that. So it really swelled up my head. My left foot was lethal, but that was it.
If you could have had a left hook like you had a left foot, you'd still be boxing, mate.
Let me tell you something. My biggest frustration, I think, when I never took that next step, was when I got an intelligent player, because they knew that I could control the ball, I had a good left foot. I was like, do you know when the black guys back in the day, you know what, I got Skinners to say, go for the legs. I was like, they used to say to me, keep him on his, put him on his right foot, put him on his right foot. And that was me done. That was me done all over. And I used to get vexed and get sent off.
So they did the scouting report. They scouted.
Yeah, they was like, yeah, see the big geezer here, the afro, keep on his right, keep on his right, put it on his right. As we hear the sideline, get the black geezer, put it on his right.
Did you?
That's my day, Dan. Sup?
Oh shit!
And you were a forward.
I was a centre forward. I started off as a centre back because I could spray the ball. And then when they realised that the centre forward was, when they started to invest black centre forwards, it weren't happening because I wasn't running after them. I was never quick, but I was strong. Right. You know what I mean? Because back then the centre forwards were physical, so I like the physical game.
Right.
So then I went up front a couple of times, and then I done my Heskey thing. I played up front.
That's why you like Heskey.
Yeah, I could be. Yeah, because I said I'm Heskey with flair.
Heskey with flair. See, if Heskey was you, then I might have liked him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for real.
Too bad.
But that's what was happening. That's what you didn't realise was happening. Every time Heskey was playing for Liverpool or for England, people said, "Put him on his right."
It looked like. On his right. It looked like they were saying, put it on his right or his left. It doesn't matter. Sorry, Heskey.
But this ain't fair. We've got two Man United man, one Liverpool man.
Right.
I need to ask you guys this year. Do you think that
no
we I don't know what
ask it. Go on.
Finish the question.
No, you've answered it because you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I know. I got an answer.
Is the season gonna come? Is the season gonna finish?
I mean, even if it doesn't finish, you guys deserve the title. You know what I mean?
I think you've got it by. I think that I don't know. I don't think you're far enough ahead. I think what I said last time we spoke about this was, I mean, apart from the general kind of glee about it couldn't have happened at a better time and stuff like that, from your point of view, being completely full of empathy for you, it's still not going to be like a proper win.
Right.
I mean, I think they're going to give it to you, and I don't think there can be any argument. I really don't. But you still want to win it an extra time, another one, just to prove that you are ahead, kind of thing. And people will always be singing it at you.
Yeah. You know what? This way, both sides win. Because Liverpool gets the title and everybody gets to shit on them about the title. You know what I mean? So
do you know what?
You have a trophy filled with piss water. You can't pour it on each other and celebrate.
All the others are like made of silver. This one's going to be made of plastic. I don't, you know, I mean, there was a point where I wondered whether Liverpool, and they won't do this, if they really felt, because they are good enough, they could turn around and go, we won't have this one, we'll win the next one. But I don't think that'll happen.
Do you reckon so? I think Klopp has put a mentality into Liverpool, and with a few more buys, the right buys, I can't see why we would not dominate this Premiership. I think he's got Pep's number, and it's going to take Newcastle with the investment a little while to
Catch
get
up.
used to the Premiership, to catch up. But I can't see why in the next 5, 10 years, that's being very generous, we could not dominate that.
I think
I would say 5. I'll be probably
I
realistic.
agree.
Next 5 years, I can't see why Liverpool would not dominate. But for the next 10 years, we will be up and around that Premiership.
You think
We will not be.
You think Klopp is going to stay there that long?
No, Klopp will stay there. And my son, how long do you think Klopp will be there for? 3 years.
3 years, 3 more. All right.
Yeah, because this year don't count.
Yeah, I agree. I think another 3. I think he'll be there. I think he's a fantastic manager. I think the minute he went there, personally, I was like, "Oh, this is good." I got other friends, other Liverpool fans. I don't know why, but I mean, certainly other people, and I was like, "He's going to be a great manager for you." I mean, regardless of your Benitez and winning cups and Houllier, who everybody loved and thought he was great for the club and everything, this is going to be the best manager that you've had for a long, 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 long time. And partly because of his kind of his German kind of arrogance and his confidence and stuff like that, you know.
I could see Gerrard being groomed and becoming the next manager.
Right. I feel like Klopp has like a. You guys watch basketball at all? I'm like the NBA.
A little bit.
Don't.
A little bit. Well, he has like a Phil Jackson vibe, and Phil Jackson coached the Bulls and the Lakers. He coached Jordan and Kobe, and he had players like Rodman on the team, and he's just very philosophical. And it's not just the typical football speeches or sayings. And you know who kind of also reminds me of like that? Like when I see Arteta speak, like even when he first went to Arsenal and they weren't getting the results, the things that Arteta would say, like during an interview, and the things that he would talk about, like the things that you don't hear other coaches and things talk about. It's like, oh, this person is going to be a good coach. Even if he doesn't make it at Arsenal, he's going to be a great coach and win eventually with the right people.
No, I agree. And I think that was evident even as a player, just the way he had the ability to watch the game and stuff, both at Arsenal, but at Everton as well. Yeah. Where was he before?
He come up with Arsenal because he was sub a lot.
Where did he start? Was it? Where did he come through initially? Where was his first team in England?
I first saw him at Everton, so I don't know where he was before that.
Was it Wigan? Was he at Wigan?
Not sure.
It's Everton.
Everton.
Good play. Good manager. I agree.
Yeah, he's going to be a good manager.
Yeah. I just don't. Do you know what? Yeah, I like him. I want him to do well. I just can't take Arsenal supporters. Arsenal, I want Arsenal to go. I want him to go for it.
I just don't think anybody can take anybody's supporters. Like, nobody likes Liverpool supporters right now. Like,
no, used to don't like Liverpool supporters. There's people who love Liverpool.
Liverpool
don't like Liverpool supporters.
No, I don't.
Yeah, listen. And I wouldn't say that, and I wouldn't necessarily agree with that as a statement. I think that there is. I've spent time in Liverpool. I told you I refuse to go to Anfield, but I have spent time in Liverpool, and the because of Liverpool itself, both Everton and Liverpool supporters, there's a great sense of humour there. There's an incredible sense of humour there. And the Liverpool supporters that I have seen in the pubs and the bars and on the streets and stuff like that, no. I don't think that they're and you've got to respect that. Never walk alone. That there are times when I've got chills watching them at European games and stuff when they're singing, and there's a pang of jealousy that isn't my team. You know, I accept that they have something that very few clubs in the world have. So I won't say that I don't like. There are other sides whose supporters I think are a bunch of twats, but I wouldn't go as far as to say that with Liverpool. I love to see them lose, sure, but I don't disrespect them personally. And I think that I was reading an article the other day about the Real Madrid game, Man United versus Real Madrid, when the original Ronaldo, walked off the pitch having scored a hat-trick, and the whole of Old Trafford got up and gave him a standing ovation, even though we were going to get.
We're class people.
But I think Liverpool do the same.
But what I'm saying is, from what I'm hearing from people in England, not me. I'm in America, so I actually like Liverpool as a team, and Steven Gerrard was one of my favorite players, and Barnes played there. But Liverpool fans in this run to win the title have like pissed people off, and I get everything that Tony's saying about, like, I watched that Barcelona 4-0 game at Anfield, and the atmosphere, and I was jumping up and down in my living room, like this is crazy. Like, just because it's an English team, like, you want to see an English team do something great, but I just hear the fans have been so obnoxious this season because they feel like they're going to win this title that people can't stand them. But not here in America. You don't feel that much. It's like my friends who are in bars watching games with them can't. But I feel like it was that way with Man U when we were winning.
I definitely think that was the case. There was and also I think that you see online, if you go into any chat rooms or if you go like on any of the newspapers like The Guardian and stuff, and there are all the comment threads afterwards and stuff. First of all, there are more Man United articles in The Guardian than anything else, and there's a good reason for that. But there's a good reason for it, is because you will get 1,500 comments. That's how many people are reading it. If you put an article about Liverpool, you'll get 1,200. If you put it about Arsenal, you get 600. So if they want readership, they put articles about Man United. But on those comment sections, the fighting that is going on between Liverpool and United and Chelsea and whoever is hilarious.
Right.
And I think that, and because it's online and there's like a lot of trolling going on, I think that's where you see the worst of it, but you also see the best of it, because you will also see people going on and going, look, I'm a Man United supporter, I'm a Chelsea supporter, whatever. All absolute credit where credit is due. They deserve it to the max, and well done, and congratulations, and all that kind. So you see it, but you will also see the people who are like, they're just drunk and they're sitting in their yard going, "We fucking got it again! Walk off the rest of you!" and like Man United and certainly Barcelona and Real Madrid, Liverpool have international supporters as well.
Liverpool's definitely an international squad. So, Quincy, you have a son that plays football, or used to? Like, what's going on with him?
Used to. Both of my sons play football. My oldest one was at Tottenham. Pardon?
He's in the youth system at Tottenham. He's still there.
Yeah. So no. He's a grown man now. He was there when Harry Kane was there.
Oh shit.
So the only one to make it at his team was Harry Kane. Who else? Alex Pritchard. Alex Pritchard made it, didn't he? Yeah, Alex Pritchard. He was at Norwich. George Moncur, his son, was there. So he left. He didn't make it. What's about 15, 16?
How old was your son? How long did your son stay in the youth system? Like, in what games?
4 seasons.
4 seasons?
Yeah, so he started when he was 11.
Right.
And it was, do you know what was really weird for me? So you watch them play in the Sunday leagues, and then I watched my son, like, he's like the main player. So all the dads talking about, oh yeah, that geezer over there, that boy over there is a good player, watching you, blah, blah. And then the team he was at the time was managed by a guy called Peter Hucker, who played for QPR against Tottenham he was a goalkeeper back in the day, 82. And he took my son and another young man. He had links with Tottenham, and he said, look, they looked at him. And I tell you who else discovered him, he was good friends. Alan Carr, the comedian's dad. He was a scout. And he went to Tottenham, had his trials, and then he done pretty well. Then they had their first game, and that's when you realise the different levels of football ability. Because I was like, He used every single year is good. I was like, right. And he had to step up.
Right.
He had to step up. And then it was like, he done his thing. It was a good team. But I think watching the youth system, watching the youngsters play, the discipline, and even like you guys were saying earlier on, that there was no talk of flair, run with it, caress the ball. There was none of that. And looking back, it was all formation, run down channels, zones. There was none of that. So there were no like Glenn. At Tottenham, you had Glenn Hoddle, who was a natural flair player.
Right.
You had Mickey Hazard, another natural flair player.
Ozzy
Ardiles.
Ricky Villa.
You know what I mean? Yeah, all flair players, but they never really implemented that in the youth system. The only side I see caressable and enjoying the ball was Arsenal.
Oh yeah.
And I know why, because their manager at the time for the first couple of years was Liam Brady.
Right.
Who was a natural flair player.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Sometimes it's to frustrate the shit out of me watching. Why are you always running, knocking this channel and be in this position? Like, because I feel that sometimes they knock the flair out of the players.
Right.
From an early age.
And yeah, that's the thing. That affects just English football or English, because that it goes back to the Heskey thing. Like, there's moments in a game when you need a player to do something. You know what I mean? Like, yes. I was watching the final, I think it was 2002, between Brazil and Germany, right? And both teams created chances, and they're both playing well-organized football and they're defending well. But it was the moments when, like, Ronaldinho did something to set Ronaldo up, even though Ronaldo didn't capitalize on those chances that created goals. It was the moments when, like, is it Rivaldo? Was it not Rivaldo? Was it
Rivaldo? Yeah.
Is it Rivaldo? Like, skips over the ball, to let Ronaldo take the second shot to score the second goal. It's those moments that make the difference. And it's in that same World Cup is the moment when Ronaldinho took the free kick, and instead of crossing it over, he takes a shot on, is it Shilton? And it's like Seaman. And you just see that's where England runs out of ideas, and then based on like me playing with those English guys in college and seeing them not make it there, like that just like frustrates me when I hear that.
And I remember seeing from kids I played at school with in England and I'm sure that was the same thing for what Quincy was saying about at Tottenham, when you see them boys good. It's like if there was a guy who was like a good centre forward, but he wasn't the greatest centre forward, he became a centre back. If the guy was a good winger, they'd say, well, if he's a good winger and he can defend, let's get rid of the defender and we'll put him as the defender.
Yeah.
So you get all the flair players and you put them into all of these sort of other positions. And that's often the case, which should mean that you're really good guys who actually end up your Harry Kanes or whoever are really, really good, because they're better than the centre forward who's now the centre back. But it's an English mentality, though.
Yeah. Do you know what I was saying? Do you know what was really amazing? So Harry Kane, growing up in the son's side, he couldn't get into the side.
Really?
He could not. He always had a killer touch. But he was a good player. But the boys in that squad, there was a few players. It's just like he could not get in the side. But he persevered and persevered. And if I ever saw him again, I'll say to him, you remember this player, that player?
Right.
And he's just waited his time, waited his turn. and obviously he
But
made it.
that's the funny thing, probably about all sport, but I've certainly seen it in football, where people who are killer at 15 or 16 are not necessarily the ones who make it to 19 and 20.
Yes.
And the same like Harry Kane. He wasn't all that, but then he moved up when it got to that different kind of level, you know.
But this is what made me think, like, on the youth level, the clubs already know the kind of player they want in their squad. So it's like you could be the most flairiest player,
right?
But if there's players already in the first team, it's like, well, we've got two of them already. We don't need them no more.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they don't nurture them. They just they'll jog them on.
What position? And go ahead. No, go ahead.
Say again?
No, go ahead. Finish that, and I'll ask you something.
No, I was just saying that for my son's position, he started off as a centre back, and then he was quick. Then they put him a fullback, so he would have been playing where at the time there was Danny Rose left back. He wasn't there at the time, but he would have been playing left back, and they had abundance of defenders.
They put fucking Gareth Bale was a fucking left back at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. So you had when he was there at the youngsters, you had the Dutch guy was Davids was there.
Right.
You had the Stephen Carr.
Yeah.
He was there, and I was like, I can't. My son was at 15, 16. I was like, he's better than that. He's got more flair than that. I say better, but he's got more flair than Manny.
Right.
So you've only seen the flair players now in Tottenham, like the Trippiers and, you know, I mean, the guy went to Man City. What the boy name again?
I can't remember. Yeah, him.
Yeah. But
Walker.
Yeah, but you only see
Carl Walker.
Flair players now. Walker, yeah. And Danny Rose comfortable on the ball because the kind of managers they've had. But I can tell you from the fullbacks when my son was there, and the Chelseas and the Arsenals, they've always had flair players from a young age.
They get
it from the group. They shut it down.
And then if you're not disciplined enough, you're not even disciplined enough, but if it's so much against your nature, it definitely will like hurt you going forward with the team. Yeah. And
I think that they try. I think what in this country, in England, they try to concentrate on the mental side of the game or the positioning side far more than the actual flair of the ball. You know what I mean? That is what you're paid for. You're there to caress the ball, nurture the ball, feel comfortable with the ball. You're not. I think your positioning comes natural to you as you get older because you worry about your positioning because you know you can't make it there. So you've got to be in the right place. But while you're young, for me, let the players play with the ball. Let them run with the ball. You understand? Or build a team. And then going back to that documentary you said about the John Barnes thing, Graham Taylor was right. John Barnes was perfect for England. They never played him in the right positions.
Right.
Glenn Hoddle was, if you cannot build a side around Glenn Hoddle, that tells me you don't deserve to mean nothing.
Yeah, it's like I'm torn because Bobby Robson was the coach of England when Barnes played?
Yes, that's right.
And Bobby Robson is like an England legend, right?
Yeah.
And he said some rude ass shit, and he's like, why can't John Barnes do for England what he does for Liverpool? And then John Barnes is being played out of position. It's a different type of game. And it's not like John Barnes ain't a hustler. Like he worked, when he was at Watford, he attacked and defended. You know what I mean? It's not like, but you know, it's just too bad that
the reason why they didn't, for instance, there was a reason they didn't build that England side around Glenn Hoddle, was that he came through at the same time as Brian Robson. And they decided they were building it around Brian Robson and Ray Wilkins, for God's sake. That's how they did it. So you're faced with that same argument that other teams have had, Gerrard and Lampard in the England side, whereas the Chelsea side and the Liverpool side were imperious with those two players playing on their own, but playing them together, there was always the question: who drops, who goes, who's in control, who do you build it around and stuff. And I think that I agree. Barnes should just stick him on the left and just let him go. I mean, that's what they should have done. And when they did that in one of those famous games, was it versus Argentina?
Argentina, yeah.
When they brought him on at the end of the game, and he put across, and Lineker scored, and he put another one. Yeah. And it was like, but that's what he should have been doing. They should have just let him do that. Instead, they had Waddle, and I guess they had people that he wanted to build his team around in a different way. Plus Hoddle, who was the manager then, wasn't he?
No, well, I don't know who was the manager at that game.
I can't remember. It was Venable, or whoever it was. But
what year are you talking?
I can't remember now what the year was, but I just remember that particular incident. And I think that with England, a lot of the time, it's because it's not like a club side where Liverpool during the 70s is a classic example of, if one man was injured, they just bring in another man into that position. It was the system that they had, and they designed it so that those 11 men played football that way. We were taught that on video, passing in the boxes, passing in the triangles, and all that kind of stuff. That's how we learned to play. And a lot of the time, you watch Liverpool, and that's exactly what they were doing. And if Steve Highway was injured, they put in whoever it was over on that left-hand side. If it was so-and-so, it was same kind of a thing. And I think, but when it came to England, it's like, when we come to play a game, who's available, and what system are we going to play based on who's available and stuff. And I think that's often been a bit of a problem.
Yeah, and I think as well, because there's so much money involved in the Premiership, I think the Premiership is over the internationals now. Football, the league clubs is definitely a more lucrative occasion. Playing for your country, I don't think it is as is as poignant as it used to be.
I think it's coming back since England got to the semi-finals. I think that it will get back to a little bit, and because that they've been through the golden generation and they never won anything, and then there was the next generation and they never won anything. I think that getting to the semi-finals has made a bit of a difference. I think Southgate is great for England, and the ability to, I think the only thing that we suffer from is not having a consistent playmaker in the middle of the field. Although
and it's clear that we need that. Like, we couldn't break down. Was it Croatia?
Right.
We needed another goal, and we had to go to penalties against Colombia. It's like, and then you're like, hey man, and even Southgate is resistant to like pick a Grealish or somebody who can like definitely do that. And so it's like.
But England there hasn't been an English player who has done that at Premier League level. I mean, Jack Wilshere, was it before that? Who was it that was there? Was Gerrard and Lampard were the two prior to that in a different period. Now Jordan Henderson's about as good as it gets in terms of that. Although there may be some coming through with the Leicester guy and
Madison.
Yeah, it's going to come through now.
I think you should pick Grealish.
Yeah,
I think you should pick Grealish, or even Cantwell coming up from Norwich is pretty creative. Like, there's a shot for us to like mix it up, and it's like you can't come at a team one way. You can't just play one way all the time. Even Liverpool, like Koja was saying, it's like throwing in Origi, because all the finesse shit is not working. The three, Mane, Salah, and Firmino, it's not working today. Putting on Origi, like, even like, as much as Man United fans give Fellaini shit, you know what I mean? Like, when we can get a goal and we needed one, just put in the 7-foot Belgium, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even that thought process helped Belgium in the World Cup when they were down 2-0 to Japan and about to lose that game. They just look for the tall guy with the afro on the bench, bring him in, goals. win that game
Yeah,
last.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah. If what's the Lukaku ain't doing it,
Yeah.
then bring him my man.
Yeah, I mean, you can't Heskey the whole game. You gotta mix it up, man. You can't Heskey the whole game.
I think Heskey, Heskey as a player, if he's coming on as a sub,
right.
Yeah,
he's
gonna stir it up.
Yeah, because he's
But
got.
Once,
if you're bringing on Heskey as a sub, the game's done.
No, you're chasing a goal, and I think with Heskey as a sub at the time, he is a player. He will disrupt play. He's going to be strong. He's going to disrupt the centre backs. To obviously give opportunity for somebody else.
Right.
But once he starts, if it ain't working for him for the first hour, I can't see that.
No,
it's over.
And I always thought that was for me my argument about Gerrard and Lampard was, you know, if it's not working for 60 minutes and you take one off and bring the other one on, that I think that sends something to the other team like, oh shit, we thought there's an old cricket thing about Garfield Sobers being injured on his finger after like about 4 or 5 overs, and he went off injured, and the West Indies then, like, you know, got like 250 runs or 300 runs or whatever it was. And then when they got down to the end, Sobers came back on again. And all the bowlers who had been spending all this time getting the West Indies out went, oh, for fuck's sake, Sobers is coming back now. And he scored another 75 runs, you know, with his injured finger, you know. And I think that's always an important thing, that if you have, if you look to the bench, and that was like the United side, the treble winning side, was you had York and Cole, but then you had Sheringham and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to come on. I mean, that is a bitch of a thing for 2 defenders in the centre or the wingers to suddenly go, holy shit, now we got to deal with this, you know. I mean, that is the strength of any side.
I'm gonna say this to both of you. I can never work out why Solskjaer, like, how this brother scored so much goals. Because I think he's shit.
Really?
He's a goal scorer.
As a goal scorer, yeah, it's good, but as a footballer, as a goal scorer, yes. As a footballer, he done nothing for me.
But all he had to do was score goals. Like, I saw an interview with him when Ferguson went and got him, and then they put him in training, you know, and the interview was like, were you nervous? He said, no, because I knew I was a goal scorer and I could score goals. Like, he was talking about his first game for Man U, he scored. And they said, were you nervous? Nah, I knew I could score goals. And it's a mentality thing, you know, that he had. Sometimes you want to know what's the difference between one player and another. It's a mentality thing. Like Harry Kane's story you just told, like, it's a mentality thing. Like, even when I watch Harry Kane now, I was like, there's no way this guy was not going to make it, because he was determined to. And he wants to be what Beckham is off the field. And he's trying to do that by becoming huge on the field. Like, the determination of a Harry Kane is clear when he plays. Sorry, Tony.
No. That's fine. And I think that for Solskjaer's point of view, what Fergie always said was that when he sits on the bench, he watches the game, he sees where the holes are, and he comes on and he plugs them. And that was the thing. But I think that sometimes, I mean, I used to scream and shout at Dwight York more than any other player. What the fuck are you doing? Same thing like Martial. You know, what the fuck? Play the ball, run back, go and get it. Oh, you scored 2 goals. All right. You know, and I mean, but that's the thing. He would do nothing for 88 minutes and then he'd score 2 goals. You know, and Jimmy Greaves is a classic, going way, way back and stuff. It's like, you know, he scored more goals than anybody, you know, at his time before the Premiership and stuff. And I mean, the man probably never ran more than 6 foot in a game. If he had a heat map, you know, it was on the centre circle. It was either the centre circle or the penalty spot. He never moved further than that, but he scored more goals than anybody else.
You know what Martial does? He plays like a sub. Like, he is on the bench while he's starting. You feel me? Like, just resting, watching everybody run, Right. And then he's like, oh, everybody's tired now. I'm going to play. It's like, I saved all my energy. So it's like, you might as well use Marshall as a sub. You get more goals per minutes played.
Right.
Because he's like, if you don't take the ball in your hand and put it on his foot, that motherfucker's not running for it. And that is frustrating to watch.
Oh.
But he does.
I will say Marshall is coming on as a sub would be more of a potential threat than he is when he's starting.
I agree. That's what he said. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if he's coming on and you're playing us lot, and he coming on, I'm like, oh shit, here we go. Like, there's a possibility that this French Pepe Le Pew ass is gonna do something.
He's gonna give it his all. Let me ask you one question about your son. Do you feel like, so what's the process like in his last year? Like, how do they say you're not gonna make it? Is it up to him, or like how does that work?
No, that's what it is. So like around this time of the year, contracts are up. So you get like a 1 year, 2 year contract.
Mm-hmm.
And then it comes to the end of the year. They analyze May time. Mm-hmm. April, May time. They say, right, they bring you in the office and they give you how you are performed for the year. Uh-huh. And they just tell you, sorry, mate. No, that's it.
That's it.
There's no like, look, work out, train for a week and see how it goes. It's right. Like, see, it's a conveyor belt. It's a conveyor belt.
Right.
It is that cold, and boy, I think I cried more. I think when I was with him,
right.
I think I cried more than him. I was like, shit, oh, that damn payment on that house is gone.
I imagine
this car.
I imagine Quincy like Liza Minnelli's father in the film Arthur, when she's breaking up from the millionaire.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the guy who was saying it.
I'm going to sell that house in Barbados. We're not going to be able to take that beachfront property.
Yeah, so I was like, right, so the money done. The money done.
So the money done.
What do you mean? I try to try and break it down. So what? Let me get this straight. When you mean like terminate the contract, you mean like it done? It's finished? You mean like go away, come back? Or is it like a 6 month holiday?
This is just the summer, right?
Yeah, it's a summer thing. Contract summer thing, done it.
It'll be hard.
All them free tickets done, right? It's done. I can't get no more league game. It's done.
Free boots, free gear, everything.
Yeah. All them times that Davids like signed my son contract, I can't come in to the training ground no more.
Yeah.
No, man, you're fuckery.
Come on to my house. Come on to my house.
You're in their house. It's like when it's like when Tony bombed in front of Heskey. They just Heskeyed you out the place. They just like just act.
And you know what's really looking back at it now, yeah? So you get all the parents sitting there, like they're just sitting in the foyer or whatever, and then they get called up, and you just know which son's got through, because all parents are like heads down. And it's like, for me, I was like, mate, you got like a back door. I don't want to go through like a pussy hole. It's like, and then you get the wives saying, don't worry, fuck off, man.
Really.
But, you know, I'm ruined. I'm bankrupt, bitch. I'm bankrupt. I'm done out here. You almost yell and come inside here. What's wrong with you? Like, all right, man, fuck off, man. Ruin my son's life, man. You turn to the streets.
Hilarious.
Oh,
Let me ask, I know the pat on the back when you don't need it. Like, let me be.
Yeah, I don't need that
upset.
shit.
Let me be upset, motherfucker. Let me.
You know what?
Like, women are always like, you know, you should cry, let your emotions out. Now you're patting my. No, let me be angry. Let me be what I want to be.
I was getting the phone calls. He goes, boy, he's such a lovely boy. It's like, oh, the fuck do you know? That lovely boy didn't get him through to the fucking. Your boy's got through, though. You fucking slut. Who did you fuck? Who did you fuck? What? Because what? So my son, well, now dealing money, can't get. Come off my phone, man.
That's hilarious. Do you feel like your son ultimately had what it take to make, like, so could he have went to another side or tried another avenue? Did he? Or did this, you just accepted that as that was
I
it?
think both of my boys. I think the fate. This is the thing now. Look at it. I think my son could have made it, but I think that knocked him. The Tottenham thing knocked him because he went to Palace after that, and I think he just lost heart. He wasn't really in it, you know what I mean? And like I said, he got further than me. So like, I just have to look at it. It is that case of determination. My youngest son tells me about the story of Ashley Young, and there's players who are not supposed to make it but made it.
Right.
And I just think that there's a generation that has a different mentality. It's like, well, they don't want me in it. But it's not like, well, let me try a different route.
Right.
Let me see if I can start from here and pick me back up. I mean, the prime example for that was when I was growing up was Derek Howes, who was at Fulham at the time. He was playing for East Dulwich, and he was at the Arsenals with Ian Wright and never made it. Ian Wright made it late. It's just that if you believe in yourself, innit?
Right.
And there's probably less time, less of a window. It's not like stand-up where if you die on your ass, you can go back and do another show and another show and another show and keep going, and you will get better and stuff. How many trials do you get as a footballer?
Yeah, you haven't seen that circular, have you? No, if you die on your ass, man, you go back to that club no more.
Well, certainly that may be now since all the big bust that happened a few years back, but back in the day, I mean, you will always keep going. You just keep going until you get it right.
Yeah, there's no choice. Yeah, there's no choice. It's like, especially like the closer you are to like being an immigrant and having an immigrant mentality, and it, like seeing like your parents work jobs that you would never want to do, but at least you can take from that, like, oh, if they keep going to that job every day to do that, just to bring home this, then I can keep doing this to do this huge thing. You know, it's like comedy. It's like from the moment I started doing comedy, like I was like, oh, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know how long it's going to take to get there or to do what I want to do, but this is it. Like, there was no, like, let me just knock on wood, because there was just no, there was just no, like, if, ands, or buts about doing this thing all the way through all the bad shows.
Absolutely. I did a storytelling thing the other day on Saturday night, and it was I talked about one of the first shows it was like one of the first shows that I did, and the first joke I did, smashed the plate, smashed, man, drop off the chair. God, it was fantastic. Next joke, flop. Next joke, flop. And the only thing I remember was the burning sensation that came up my body until I thought I was on fire, and my head was exploding like a matchstick, and then the sweat was pouring down at the same time. I was hot and wet, and then the next show that I had was like a week later at the National Arena at this massive thing, and it was one of those things where I'm like, what do I do? What am I going to do? What are my choices? Leave the country, kill myself. No, so you sit on and you write and you try and you work something out. And I went on that next show and I did a piece of material that I'd written. And this was the thing that really taught me about writing and trusting yourself to fail. And I went on and it smashed the place. As I did it as the opener, and and then I did the joke that I'd opened with, so I had 2 jokes, and then I died on my ass. But it was an improvement. It was an improvement, and you could go on from there, you know.
Right.
But you don't have that. I doubt that you have that when coaches come and see you, or scouts come and see you. You get a game, and we all know, whether it's football or comedy or whatever, you don't always play 100% all the time.
Right.
You know? Yeah. There's. I see some players like come through, and I'm like, how the fuck did you get a contract? I want to be religious, man. I don't want to disrespect the team, but how did you get a contract? It's supposed to be a god, right? You sit there like, this ain't right. This brother can't kick straight.
But I've seen the same thing said about comedians. How did this guy get on the show?
Yeah.
How come this guy's getting paid the big bucks to compare it or close it or whatever?
But as comedians, a shit comic can get on a show, yeah, but it's going to be found out. He or she is going to be found out, yeah. But and they're by themselves. But when you get a shit footballer and he's surrounded by 10 good footballers, it's like he's being dragged along.
Yeah.
And it's like,
but because I read that Arsenal book, right? Written by a famous British author, and they made it into like a movie out here. I forgot the name of the book. It was a really good book.
Nick, the same guy who did
Nick Hornby.
Nick Hornby, yeah.
Hornby, right? And he talked about, you know, his experience with Arsenal, and he talked about this one player that ended up playing for Arsenal. I think it was Arsenal. And because Arsenal was successful, he made it to the national team, and he played for England, but then ended up ultimately like in like the 4th division. And there's this thing where, like you were just saying, Quincy, where you could be just in this right wave of things going on at the same time, where you get credit for things that you're probably, if people are looking at you more like on an individual basis, but because you get associated with this movement of this team, that they just assume you're a part of it. And then this guy played for England, but then ended up in the 4th division for most of his career or something like that. And I forgot the name of the player.
Fever Pitch.
Yes, Fever Pitch is the book. But the player he was describing might have been an Arsenal player or some player from somewhere else. But he described that phenomena. And then, like, it's like art. Like, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So everybody, like, name your favorite player, Quincy, of all time. Just one of them, not your favorite, just one of them.
One of them, Zico.
Zico, and then you, Tony. Like, who's one of yours?
Paul Scholes.
Scholes, and Scholes is one of mine. Xavi and Iniesta. But it's like beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and then it's like we're Caribbean people, you know. We're attracted to players who probably have our complexion, who have flair, and
Dunga.
Yeah, Dunga. Dunga's my favorite.
Yeah. Do you know what? I don't know how he became captain of that 94 side. I don't know. How do you get in the side?
He won, right?
Yeah, but
he won.
No, because that was because they didn't have the Zicos. They didn't have those players, so they put him as that sort of Deschamps. That's who he was. He was Deschamps.
Right.
You know, playing in that position and stuff. But I also love the story going along the same lines you're talking about, and about players who play in lower divisions. Schillaci, he was the guy who played for Italy. Wasn't he playing in Serie B? And he played for Italy, and he scored all the goals in the tournament. Right. And he was just out of his skin. It was fantastic to see. And then he played good for another season. Got bought by a big side, and then he slid back down again. You know, right. I mean,
that was like Steve Ball for Wolves, wasn't it?
Right.
He played for England 90.
Right.
He plays in the old first division.
Right.
He didn't win a World Cup though.
No, he didn't win the World Cup. He didn't win the
And
World
most
Cup,
English
no.
players haven't.
Yeah, really, really. No.
Yeah, very, yeah. It's true.
But it is a
It's true.
phenomenon, and there are players who have, which we all know about. I mean, there are players who play differently. I mean, Chris Smalling is a classic example right now of. A lot of people thought he was a piece of shit for United. I didn't think he was that bad.
I didn't.
But then he's gone to Italy, and they love him.
Yeah,
they think he's the best thing since sliced bread.
Right.
You know.
But
the game's different. It's much slower. It suits him. You get found out in the Premiership. I never rated Smalling.
Never.
Nah.
Like I don't. Here's the crazy thing. I don't think Maguire is better than Smalling. I don't think we paid 80 million or whatever we paid for Maguire when you have Smalling. I've seen Smalling do a lot of those same things. So it's like, why are we getting rid of someone when this person is not decisively better for that much amount of money?
I think the defender with the best numbers at the moment in the Premier League, next to Van Dijk, is Johnny Evans.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what? You played 80 million for 2 or 3 goals in the World Cup. That's what you paid 80 million for.
Yeah, absolutely. And an English player.
Nothing else.
If he'd been Colombian or something else, it wouldn't have cost as much. But it was the English spine through the side that they're trying to go for.
He scored 2 or 3 goals, English, face fits, 80 million.
He did look good in the World Cup, though. He did. I like the way he carried the ball out the back, and he showed me something different. He played better for them than he did for Leicester at the time, I don't even know if he was at Leicester then. I can't remember the chronology.
He was at Leicester then. He was at Hull before that, I think, wasn't he?
Right.
And that was a side that had about 6 centre-backs, Hull. But he'll be all right. He's going to be all right for United. I mean, I think he's got some good stuff going on. But I don't think
he's your captain, isn't he?
Eh?
Isn't he your captain?
Yeah, it's too soon. Too soon. Like
who was it before?
They had they bounced it around like Ashley Young, and and Ashley Young, it's just we're in disarray, but we're getting better. We're definitely on the right path. Yeah, we're on the right path.
Definitely.
Sure. Yeah, you were all right before the pandemic. You was doing all right, getting the results.
Yeah, definitely. Bruno's made a huge difference. Massive.
Yeah.
And I think, it'll be interesting to see if Pogba comes back. We don't know. We'll see. When do you think? Can I have a question? When do you think the game is going to come back? Because I had a conversation in chat room or on a comment thread and stuff about when the game should start back again and how soon and stuff. And I was amazed at how many of the people commenting, the English people, were totally against the game starting back again, which I was very surprised at.
That's impressive. It all depends. So the German league is going to be probably the first one to start back up. So according to this article right here, they want to start on May 9th, but they're going to probably start May 16th or May 23rd. So it's listen, this is a very funny thing because Georgia is a state in America, and they just opened back up last week, and everybody's like, you guys are crazy. You got they open up hairdressing salon, tattoo parlors, all massage places. And at first I'm like, these people are fucking crazy. But then I'm like, what if this works? If this works, then everybody, including me, will be like, shit, it can be done. So let's open back up. So I'm looking at German football, and a lot of football players, like Sergio Aguero, is like, I'm afraid to play. But if he watches, if he watches this league and it worked somehow, then everybody's gonna be like opening back slowly because the person you thought was dumb and crazy did something or proved something, and you're like, fuck it, let's do it. So
I mean, I reckon
I reckon they should to start it back up. They should start with the shit leagues first. Just all right, go on Turkish league, go on do your league, go on do your stuff, go on Scottish Premiership, go on.
Scottish Premiership.
The Spartan League, the Spartan League. The Spartan League have started in the FA Cup. They're bringing back some of their ex-players. Quincy is going to be playing in the Heskey role.
That's what they should do. Like Ian just said, in Georgia, they open up their hair salons, tattoos, the masseurs, all the places where hood people go. Like people pushed out like pawns. They should do the same thing for football. All the shit leagues go for shit leagues. Then the Premiership, Serie A, Serie A's finished now. Premiership, La Liga. All right, go and do your team.
But I think that what they should do is I think that they must be able to test all the players and all of the staff who are there for the game. Obviously, it's going to be behind closed doors, and I think that they should just rig up PA systems to just play chants and play. You know, they got some sound guy with his faders, sort of bringing up the ooh, ah, woo, and all of that kind of thing as the sound system in the background. I think it works great. And you've got, all right, if Aguero don't want to play, but I mean, just test him. Test all of these people. You're not going to catch it from other people who don't have it. And if you find out someone have it, yellow card, red card, in the box, off you go.
Yeah, and it'd be yap.
Yeah, exactly. But I think part of the problem is that that in the UK, where you guys have been on lockdown and curfew and all that kind of stuff, and I think that your numbers of coronavirus have felt a lot worse because everybody's much more enclosed and locked up and seen the numbers jumping. Whereas here, in certain places, although I am surprised with Georgia, in certain places, certainly here in Florida and even in California, your numbers haven't been outrageous.
Because you've been so sheltered in place.
Right.
Now that, listen, I went out the other day and people are over it. People are over the social distancing. They're over the shelter in place.
And this is the
they're
problem.
Like walking up to you and next to you. And I'm like, hey man, just some room here. But people, it's just like, if the disease works the way they say it works, if lack of discipline is going to fuck this country over. Lack of discipline and patience. But if somehow they calculated this thing wrong and you can go out, like I'm in the stages where I'm going back and forth, but I'm still, until everything is proven, I'm still going to just chill mostly in the house and not go out as much, especially now.
That's the natural black side of you. You're a suspicious side.
Yeah.
But like I said, with me, as long as my mentality is, as long as I wash my hands and wash my face, I'm good. Right. You know what I mean? So just wash your hands.
Even after you make love to a woman, you're like, even after
I wash my hands, wash my face.
And my face.
Wash my hands.
I'm good.
I need to wash my face. My face is going to be there anyway. So.
That's all he's been using is his hands and his face anyway.
Yeah. That's what he uses.
I know. It's because it's interesting watching places like Sweden where they didn't lock down at all. They didn't lock down the schools. They didn't lock down the bars or the restaurants. People are outside drinking, smoking, hanging out, doing everything like that. But there was an interview with the Minister of Health there, and he was saying every minute they're not sure if they've done the right thing, but they're going ahead with it. But the problem is, what everybody's worried about is that are they infecting the Norwegians and the Finns and the Danes who are all around them? Are they endangering them? And of course, what they are doing is annihilating almost all of the deaths are in the older population. And so it's like, I don't know.
Are there a lot of deaths over there in Sweden?
I'm not sure what the numbers are, but they were saying the ones that they have are pretty much all through the mature community that's there and stuff.
That's a nice way for you to put it, Tony.
Yeah.
Old motherfuckers.
Well, we went back. I'm Rivellino's age. So it's that kind of a thing where you don't know. But I'm with you. I'm saying, I mean, I went out earlier, I'm exercising, and I put the mask on when people start getting close and stuff. If I go to the supermarket, I've got the old mask. That's me. I'm done. I'm on. And gloves and the whole kind of thing. And I just think that I'm more worried about now because people are because I'm over it too. I agree.
Right.
And one of the best things that I've heard was when they said those three little words, remdesivir. When they said that remdesivir is likely to be one of the things that can help you if you get it bad. I'm like, praise the Lord, there's some light on the horizon,
What's the remdesivir?
It's a drug that.
I'm glad you said that, Ian.
Remdesivir it's a drug that they have found that aids the recuperation, and so people who have got it and got it bad, they give it to them, and they get better within 2 or 3 days rather than go the other way. And it's the drug that's doing what Trump was saying the hydroxychloroquine was going to do.
Right. Okay.
But without killing your heart and all that kind of stuff,
Is this a drug you could get over the counter, or is this going to cost like £5,000 per tablet?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't think you can get it over the.
Not anymore.
But it's been in trials. Yeah, really. So I was just trying to Google it and find out what they were saying about it.
It's the new lung Viagra.
Exactly.
Viagra for your lungs. Keep you breathing.
Exactly. But I mean, that's the thing, because I mean, I have asthma and diabetes. Quincy, you've got asthma. Do you still diabetic, Quincy, or are you in denial?
No, the asthma is not as bad. Asthma used to come with the hay fever, but my diabetes is controlled to a point now.
Yeah, same here. But when you hear that list of what makes people into a high risk group and stuff, you start going, right, boy.
Yeah. I got a phone call from the school I'm working at, and the owner, she never calls, so she goes to me, it says in our form that you're diabetic, and I was like, in my head, I was like, bitch, that was 4 years ago. Yeah, I've lost weight since then. If you came down to your site and saw your staff, you would know I'm wearing Zara clothes now. Yeah. I'm no longer shopping high and mighty. And then she told me, because of health regulations and the government, you're high risk. And I'm like, I ain't fucking high. Since when eating festival I've become high risk all of a sudden? You know what I mean? Well, I had a couple of bakes, all of a sudden now I'm fucking high risk.
Hilarious. That's hilarious.
They have made us, they made being diabetic or having it or controlling it, it's not as bad like with some kind of lepers or some shit.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, don't make me feel bad because I've had a Big Mac. I'm high risk because I've eaten a quarter pounder with cheese in it. What the fuck?
You're apparently high risk for everything. Anything fun. Wendy's, Kentucky Fried Chicken.
When they ask me, and they say, oh, so you're diabetic, and I say, yeah, and they say, is it under control? I go, oh, absolutely. I have great numbers of blood sugar, diet and exercise, and a fuckload of drugs. But it's under control.
It's under control. So you take drugs for your diabetes?
Oh yeah.
And what about you, Quincy?
No.
No?
Watch my diet.
Oh, you just watch your diet? So you just did it that way?
I'm boxing. I box, so I'm training all the time. So, I mean, there are times where, I had a Coke today, fishy, but I'm very conscious of what I eat and what I drink, you know what I mean? So, I mean, my thing is, as long as I can fit into my Zara shirts, I'm good.
That's your insulin test?
That is it. This is like, someone told me I've still got diabetes after fitting in Zara clothes. There's no hope. I'll give up.
People's priorities. That's interesting. You do it on the Zara clothes. I always worry if I see ants following me. That's really my thing. Or if I see bees flying around, I'm like, fuck, man, I got too much pollen going on. I've got sugar coming on.
Yeah. Back in the day, they used to find out if you have diabetes. They have you pee outside.
Right.
Ants like congregated around your piss. Then you had diabetes.
Yeah, you know. Well, as we call it in Jamaica, you have sugar.
You have sugar, yeah.
You have sugar.
Is that true?
What? Sugar or ants?
No, you pick outside.
So what?
Oh yeah, always, Quincy. Absolutely, you should try it now, mate. Go on, go out now.
Yeah. There's another way you can test your Zara suits by pissing outside.
Oh dear.
Well, listen, man, it was great having you both on. Tony, as usual. Anything you want to plug, Tony?
No, man, I'm good. I've been doing something. It's really interesting over the last since the whole pandemic. Been doing more and more stuff online, meetings online, talking to people. Got a Mother's Day show in Canada, but it's now everything's online because we're not going up there. So we've just done bits to camera, and I've sort of edited a few things and flung them out and stuff. And it was quite liberating. It's quite liberating because you can write material and you do it, and you've got no fucking idea whether anybody's going to laugh or not. You just fling it out there and you just hope for the best. Did a storytelling thing that was on, long story short, Jamaica, which was on Instagram, and so I'm actually really quite enjoying this new normal of a lot more of the internet stuff and everything. So
I kind of like it too.
Yeah. And what have you been doing?
You're both old. You're both old, isn't it? Because you just want to stay in your house. You don't want to, you're cantankerous. I don't want to bother nobody.
Yeah, but we're also. Yeah, come round, man. I know why you coming in here. It's true. But we're also rich and we got nicer houses than you have. That's the truth.
I've got 46 rooms in my house.
46 rooms. Oh, you're renting out bedsitter now. You have studio. You put in partitions.
I've just subletted to the council.
Hilarious.
How many different languages are you speaking now then? I'm speaking Azerbaijani.
Yeah.
Those are the Eastern.
I didn't believe it before, but my son told me about this. The guy downstairs, always smashing.
Oh yeah.
I heard him a couple days ago. Always smashing.
So he's not quarantined at all.
No, but his missus, if you see the missus proper Muslimed up, you know what I mean? You would never believe it's like a fucking freak. Freak.
She's healthy, man. She's been wearing a mask.
Why'd you think she dresses like in the daytime? Yeah, she's a freak.
Yeah, she's a freak, man. Just every minute. Yes, bang, bang, bang. I was like, go on, do your thing.
Do your thing. Yeah.
You sure he's smashing it? You sure he's not just praying? Doing something.
Yeah, no. It's judging by it's quite hot over here. So yeah, if he's praying for some kind of aircon.
One of the first times I moved to London, I lived in this house, in this flat, and there was this noise coming from the place. First night I stayed there, and it was like, I'm like, rasshole. All right, the first part I get, but the last part, and it would stop, and then it would go, and I'm like, no, man, this is outrageous. What? Turned out I was living next to a bakery, and there was a machine that knocked the bread out of the tins, and that's what it was. But for the first half hour, I'm going, I don't believe any man can do it like that.
So, Tony, how did you feel when you found out for 3 days you've been masturbating to bread being...
This is some bullshit over homies.
All I can tell you is my girlfriend, she was like, dough. That was all,
Oh, yes.
It brings new meaning to having a roll in the hay,
A new meaning to it.
Yeah,
Quincy,
totally.
anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I'm doing radio shows in the morning, 10 a.m. London. on a station called Supreme FM. I do that Monday to Thursdays, which are debate shows. I also, in the evening, every Monday, I do a online thing, Instagram and Facebook Live, in sync with the Quincy. Basically, I wash my dishes and I chop it up to the rest of the people. They keep me company do you know what? It's really nice that people log in. Mm-hmm. And while I'm doing my dishes, they keep me company and I just chatting the breeze about different things. So we were talking about Mike Tyson, possible comeback today, and I was giving my perspective on that, and we're talking about Jill Scott versus Erica Badu.
Oh yeah,
we're talking about that today. Yeah, May 9th. Yeah, that's gonna be that's gonna be unbelievable. You know what I mean? That's gonna be unbelievable. But apart from my radio shows, I can't say the next show I'm gonna be at, but I've got some things in the pipeline. I wrote my first play last year.
Oh, dope.
It went down really well. Comedy play. And it's been picked up. So yeah, it's all good.
What's your Instagram?
At Quincy Comedian.
All right.
At Quincy Comedian.
All
so
right.
Just Cockney Prince.
Well, it's a pleasure having you on, man. Funny as shit. Tony, thanks for, getting us linked up and stuff like that.
Yeah, cool.
Everybody out there, hope you enjoyed the episode. Keep being safe, keep being smart. I know it's tough to stay inside or just stay away from people. It goes against our natural nature, but the most important thing is being alive. I don't know what's true or what's untrue anymore. There's so many things going around. So just, hey man, rely on your instincts. Whatever you've been told by yourself to do, whatever your natural instinct, even if it goes against what you want to do, follow your instincts, man. There's just too many things going on. It's time to rely on yourself to get through this. My name is Ian Edwards. Thanks for listening to the Soccer Comic Rant. We'll holler at you. Peace, brothers.
Respect.
Bless